The reason these investigations have gone nowhere are because of the connections of Kirk Lane and Jay Campbell to Dan Lassiter and on up the line to Governor Clinton. I also believe that those connections filter down to our local hierarchy and criminals and thugs, which are public officials here in Saline County.
You know, there's been a lot of talk about the number of people down here in Arkansas who have been somehow connected with investigations that somehow involve the power structure here that have turned up dead.
I really can't say about the others. All I know is myself, and I know that my career was never the same after that. And instead of pursuing the fact that my mail had been opened up the way it was, and the fact that mail is a common way of transmitting chemical and biological reagents like that, and in light of what the doctor said repeatedly, there was no investigation, there was no concern, there was no sympathy from the state police for my condition, and my tenure with the state police was never the same after that. In fact, I'd been out just a few days when the FBI arranged a meeting with me. I was led to believe that it had to do with an investigation. When I got there, I found out the investigation was of me. I was being investigated by the FBI for an illegal wiretap, and I told the FBI agent, Floyd Hayes, that I was in the hospital at the time, still incredulous of what I was being accused of, and he was short of reading me my rights. I was about to be arrested, and I said I was in the hospital, and he argued with me and said I was not in the hospital. He said, I've got this file here, look at it. And I said, I'm not interested in your file. I was in the hospital. The sheriff listened to me and him argue a little bit, and he was arrogant. He was just had a real cocky attitude. He was bound and determined that I was going to be arrested then. I know the routine.
But Russell Welch did escape the clutches of federal officialdom, and today it is his testimony that provides the basis for what we know about the secret history of Mena, Arkansas.
By 1987, there was a new show at the Mena airport. Tell me about that.
In 1987, Barry Seals is dead and gone, and I really would like to have forgotten him. But the dregs of that investigation were still present because the body of his organization was still intact. All, in fact, that had disappeared was Barry Seal. But out of nowhere, C-130 appeared at the Mena airport. Tail number was in 4469 Papa.
Now, C-130 is a military cargo transport plane.
It's a good-sized military cargo transport plane. I found out that many of them had been released into for civilian ownership, although they're still considered an instrument of war. You know, after the C-130s arrived, an Australian by the name of Bob Mattern became a good friend of mine. He was a ground engineer for C-130s, and over a period of months and years, we spent a lot of time together. Different reasons, just friendship. And he told me that when they first came here, that they being in this operation with the C-130s, which I assume is the same operation that the FBI agents were telling me about, he said that they were going to do some special ops. He said they knew that some had already been done here, and that they would come and do some special ops, and then some what he called legitimate business. He said after they were here for a while, they decided they'd do nothing but special ops, and they were going to fence in the airport. And indeed, there was a public announcements in the media locally that the Mena airport was going to be fenced in. Nobody, including law enforcement, would be allowed in without badges, name tags on their shirts, and they'd have their own security force. And that this was being sanctioned by the federal government. And Gene Wheaton, who's a name you're familiar with, checked with his sources at the Pentagon, and determined from them that that there was no top secret operation being done here, that there wasn't any high-level, expensive government projects going on at the Mena airport, and exposed that locally to the media and other people, and the fence stopped.
Well, let me ask you this. Is there an individual that owns one of those establishments who you investigated and whose history you could not document beyond a safe house somewhere in the mid-70s?
Well, you're really wanting to get me into it, aren't you? Didn't we go over this last time?
Not on tape, we didn't.
It's
I didn't mention the man's name.
That's well, yeah. There's one out there who was whose history was questioned, and it was looked into to try to establish just exactly who he was because of his appearance during a questionable time. He appeared. His appearance was contemporary with the message that I got from the 2 FBI agents, whom I thought were telling me to investigate illegal activity. So yeah, the man was checked on, and yeah, his address that he had given went to a safe house in Maryland.
Half a dozen CIA drug pilots have come forward with basically interlocking tales of SEAL's exploits.
The allegations that we ran, or Barry Seal, or anyone in our organization was involved with the CIA running guns to the Contras and then drugs back, that's all false. We never ran any weapons or never worked for the CIA, not one single time. That C-123 was used twice. It was flown to Nicaragua twice, and then it was parked here. And I saw an article where Al Hathaway was interviewed for the Baton Rouge State-Times newspaper, and in that article he said that that airplane was part of his investigation at one time, and after the Nicaraguan sting, it was parked here at Mena Airport and didn't go anywhere for a year until it was sold. Now, the allegations are that L.D. Brown went 2 trips in that C-123. Terry Reid said he went in that C-123. Mickey Tolliver said he went in the C-123. Jorge Morales said he went in the C-123. Chip Tatum said he saw the C-123 in Central America several times. I would find that kind of hard if the C-123 sat here at the airport for a year.
But one of Barry Seal's drug smuggler tricks was to have 2 of everything in his fleet of planes. That way, when one of his planes was spotted somewhere loading cocaine, the boys could say, hey, wait a minute, that plane couldn't have been there. It was sitting on the runway in Mena, Arkansas. So when this man, L.D. Brown, testified that he flew with Seal on 2 separate C-123 drug and gun running missions, he was discredited because the C-123, don't you know, was on the runway in Mena. And here's a news flash. Barry Seal's second C-123. Take a look at some exclusive footage of the second C-123 after years of rumors of its existence. This plane sits in Titusville, Florida, near the NASA Space Museum. Its serial number matches that of the plane listed in the logbooks of one of Barry Seal's mechanics, Cecil Rice. We ran a check through FAA records in Oklahoma City on this plane, flown by Barry Seal back and forth on his officially sanctioned drug and weapons smuggling runs. It belonged to Corporate Air Services, Major General Richard Secord's Corporate Air Services, a CIA airline. This footage proves beyond a shadow of a doubt Barry Seal's connections to Oliver North and Iran-Contra. This footage proves that something really weird is and was going on in America. And guess what? The footage comes to us courtesy of Terry Reid, the most savagely attacked of all Iran-Contra covert operatives who came forward to testify about the top-to-bottom corruption of our government by drug money. And we want to thank him for the footage and thank him for his courage. But here's the really big conspiracy. Any halfway motivated journalist could have found these things out years ago. The CIA's role in the drug trade is so well known, even actor Mel Gibson's gotten wind of it.
Hey, fellas, when we get to the strip, you go north, and I'll search this side. We'll find them. And if we hurry, we can still make that 9:30 table at Nino's.
We no go home now.
Opium go home now.
What? There was opium on that?
You said it. Opium.
And he took his opium instead of us?
You helped him load it, pal.
As far as any drugs coming to Mena, Arkansas, or any weapons or any CIA involvement, drugs for guns, all of that story, our organization was not involved in either. We were simply a transportation operation. We brought no drugs to Mena, Arkansas. We brought no guns from Mena, Arkansas to Central America ever in any way.
What about the murder? Is it connected at all with the grand jury investigation?
Not that we know of. They did 7,000 autopsies. Not one single case overturned because of Mena.
Not a single case?
Not one single case.